Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from the den. Legacy Internet Radio. Thank you, every single person listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. Ain't no half stepping Marcus J. You can hear us every single Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, until we finish talking. We go probably about 2.5 hours every single week. We appreciate those folks that are listening to us on TuneIn. You downloaded it on your iPhone, tablet, smartphone, whatever, computer, and you searched the website Legacy Internet Radio in TuneIn. And so that's how you found us. We appreciate those folks that have gone to our website, www.legacyinternetradio, and those folks that are listening to us in the replays in podcast form on YouTube. It's because you guys continue listening to us. As I always say, is the reason why we continue to do this show. All right, I'm very happy and excited to bring this next brother to you guys. It's one of the few people that I could think of off the top of my head that was a teammate in the National Football League of Tony Romo in Dallas, as well as Tom Brady in New England. He played in the 2011 Super Bowl against my New York Football Giants. He played 8 years in the league. We are very, very happy and honored to have our brother Nate Jones on the live line with us. What's up, bro?
Man, what's up, cuz? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good, cuz. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us. Got a lot of stuff. You know, it's funny to have access to someone that can kind of put a little perspective on some of the things that we see solely as fans. As a fan of the National Football League, of course, you know, yesterday was the party day and everybody across the nation had an opportunity to kind of fellowship. So I'm going to let you go ahead and get this out your system right now. You know, cuz is a Giants fan. Your Cowboys did what they did last night. I'm really upset and in my feelings about it. So if you want to pick on me, you can say whatever it is you want to say. Just get it out quick. What you
know, I got home yesterday off a flight. The game was on. It looks like y'all had it in the bag. I'm sitting here like, okay, I got to deal with these Dallas fans now. And I literally go watch a movie, and I come out, and the Cowboys won. And I'm just thinking to myself,
how
did this just happen? It's week one, and we already have this kind of drama. But, you know, your Giants, y'all always start slow every year, man. I don't know what it is about y'all. Yeah, y'all always start slow.
Yeah, we do. We won the Super Bowl at 9-7, which I still am not sure I understand that one, but right. You know, but I'll take it. And we know that, you know, you played for the Cowboys, but when you were growing up in Jersey, who did you root for? Like, who was your squad? Like, who did young Nate root for? Get the jersey
Nate
for?
Was an '80s baby, and he by default rooted for the San Francisco 49ers, man. I don't hang me for that, but that is who I went for. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, those guys, man. They were just the team I recognized the easiest coming out of Jersey, even though the Giants and the Jets were right there in my backyard.
Right.
I was a 49ers fan, diehard.
I can dig it. Who did Pops root for?
Pops is, well, he's
not a Raiders fan.
60, 70. He's a Raiders fan.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew he was a Raiders fan.
You know he's a Raiders fan. His whole generation, all men from that generation are Raiders fans.
Yeah, I knew he was. I got to get on him next time I see him and whatnot. That's cool. Now let me ask you, because I wasn't prepared for this particular question, but something you just said made me kind of think about it. The first time that you suited up, you put that star on your helmet, you ran out the tunnel in Candlestick Park in the stadium that you rooted for the team as a young bruh, and now you're a grown man and you playing pro ball on the field against the team you grew up rooting for. What was that like, man? How did you feel?
I got one better for you. Not only did I play against the 49ers, but I played against Jerry Rice, who was my favorite player in his last year.
Wow.
So, but he was with the Seahawks when I played against him.
Right.
But
did you
playing the 49ers Candlestick, that was cool. You know, by that time I was grown and, you know, my passion for them had dwindled. Now every team was on the same level. But it was still cool to be out in the Bay Area and playing in a stadium with a team I used to root for.
Right.
And then going against Jerry Rice was just that was kind of surreal, and I'll be the first to admit he did score on me, and it was a phantom pass interference call, and it was bad, man. But
they call pass interference
like
on
Jordan
you.
when he was in his last couple of years, man. I wasn't gonna get that call, so
Hold on,
it is what it is.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm clear on this. They called pass interference on you lined up against Jerry Rice.
They called pass interference on me, and Jerry Rice pushed off on me in the end zone. Should have been OPI. It was DPI. It is what it is.
Say word.
It is what it is.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna need to see the tape because I'm gonna pick on you when I see that joke.
Hey man, it is what it is. I was a young boy. I was a rookie on my second year, and so I had to learn the hard way.
I could dig it. Ain't no half step on Marcus J. We're talking to Nate Jones, former NFL player. Played with, I should say, Tony Romo in Dallas as well as Tom Brady in New England. And here is why I keep saying that and keep setting it up, because, those are two very different guys. Even as a Giants fan, I can appreciate Tony's greatness. He's a great player. He showed us last night leading his team on a run, 24, I believe, fourth quarter comebacks he's got in the last several years, which is 3 more than the next guy, which I believe is Peyton, and Eli with 20. What do you think is the difference, just as someone who played? I know you're on the other side of the ball, but just kind of playing or being alongside Tom and Tony, what were the differences between those two in your opinion?
Oh man, the difference. That's good. I think you got to start. I think you have to start and see how similar they may be. Really.
Okay.
I'm gonna flip your question, because if you recognize, Tony Romo was a free agent.
Right.
He was not a very highly touted guy coming in. Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick.
Right.
Not a highly touted guy coming in.
Right.
I remember Romo. My first couple of years, he was 3rd string, just a backup. So they are actually a little more similar than most people think. But I think, fast forward now to 2015, I think it's fair to say Tom Brady's had probably a little bit more of an illustrious career.
Just a little bit.
Both great leaders. Both actually, believe it or not, cool guys to be around, even though the media kind of paints them to be villains sometimes.
Right.
But they're both leaders. I just have to say the biggest difference is, Brady's just had the luxury of being with one of the most probably Hall of Fame coaches his whole career.
Right.
He's been with one coach, and that coach has groomed him to be exactly what they needed him to do in the program. Romo's kind of had a few different head coaches.
Right.
Situation's just a little different in Dallas, so that would probably be the biggest difference.
I think that people would be shocked to realize the definite benefit it is to play for one coach for a long time.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I can say about Eli Manning. I'm pretty sure that he either had Coughlin for probably all, if not most, of his career, and he's, up and down, depending on how you feel about the Giants, usually dictates how you feel about Eli. But, he won 2 Super Bowls with the same coach, and they've been together for a long time. And I think if you look around the league, you'll see that some of the more successful teams are the teams that have a tandem like that. And coincidentally, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if you know this, or I'm not sure if I know this, but both of them, I think, either replaced Drew Bledsoe or were the guy after the guy that replaced Drew Bledsoe. I think. I'm pretty sure that Tom did, and I think.
Well,
no.
You are absolutely correct. Drew Bledsoe gave birth to both of those guys.
Absolutely, yeah, I thought so.
He certainly did, and it's kind of a unwritten, unsaid joke around the league, but he did.
Oh, okay.
He did. He gave birth because he got hurt. Tom Brady took over New England.
Yep.
Bill Parcells brought Bledsoe to Dallas.
Yep.
Same thing.
It's crazy. As an old baseball guy, I don't know if our listeners know the reference, but we in sports, we call that getting Wally pipped.
What is it called?
It's called Wally pipped. Wally Pipp was the first baseman for the New York Yankees in the 1920s, and he called out of a baseball game because he had a headache, and the guy who was asked to replace him was a guy by the name of Lou Gehrig, and we know what he did.
Oh, wow. Okay, I have heard that.
Yeah. Ain't no half step on Marcus J. All right, couple of maybe not so fun questions, but I want to get into it as someone who may have had an idea of what this may have been like from somebody who played versus those of us who just having an opinion. When I saw Spygate, I wasn't shocked by it, not so much because it was New England, but because I find it very difficult to believe that teams don't try to get the upper hand by any means necessary. When I think about baseball, which is my natural sport, that's the sport that I know better probably than any other. When I think of, you know, someone getting upset because someone stole signs, I'm like, well, don't you want your team to get the greatest advantage? You know, I mean, it's one thing when you're using technology, but when you're just looking at the signs, I don't see that being a bigger deal. Now, obviously, Spygate is different because they were using technology, but was the general consensus amongst the players was that there was some impropriety going on, or did the players just not really care about it?
You know, there's definitely a gray area about a competitive advantage and how far you can go with it. For right now, you know, the Patriots just seem to be getting the butt of all cheating scandals or whatever it is. Unfortunately, the evidence is never really 100% clear.
Right.
But bottom line is, you know, if you're recording or stealing playbooks or anything that's alleged, we can't prove it. But if it did happen, it is wrong.
Right.
And it is definitely an advantage that would kind of go against the rules. I don't know if it's ever been 100% proven or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is, you know, the Patriots, say what you want, they kind of come in year year out and do what they do.
Yeah.
And I still have friends in the organization. I played there. I was there. You know, I didn't witness any cheating myself.
Right.
But they're one of the top organizations in the past 10 years. And you know, and it's unfortunate they're being marred by a lot of these accusations. But at the end of the day, when you get on the field, you still got to play ball. Right. And there's a lot of people who just can't really match up to the success they've had.
Yeah, you know,
so
it's crazy.
That's kind of my view on it. It's kind of like half player, half out of the league type of view. I'm leaning on the fence, as you can see, but that's just the real of it. Because at the end of the day, you still got to go out and play, and you got to perform. And, you know, the Patriots just seem to be able to do it at a high level, and they've been very successful.
I can dig that, and here's why I can dig that. Lead into the other scandal that has plagued the Patriots, and more specifically with Tom Brady, which is Deflategate. And here's my take on it. Here's my layman's take on that. If you let air out of the ball just a little bit, I personally don't see that much of a deal with it. Obviously, Roger Goodell and others did. But it's one of those things where I noticed that a lot of the retired players, particularly quarterbacks, and some of the old-timers were the ones that were the most vocal about it. And a lot of the quarterbacks that are still in the league have very little, if not anything, to say about it. My interpretation of that is because they all do it. And it's something that is very, very common to let a little bit of air out of the ball so that you can get a better grip. And I'll make it even more personal for, you know, those of us who play football in the street, not so much, you know, on a professional or organized level, but in the street. How many times did you get that ball that had a little bit less air and you got that better grip and you could whip that joint a little further down the street?
Oh, you throw those little Nerf starter balls down the street.
Yeah.
You could throw that ball
corner to corner.
For a mile. Yeah. No, again, same situation. I'm sure, you know, there's going to be some heavy regulations that'll come from, whether it be this year or next year, about air pressure in the ball. Right. There are already rules about it, but it'll be heavily monitored. You can guarantee that.
Right.
But as far as did Brady know, is it a cover-up? You know, they always say it's never the crime, it's the cover-up that's worse, yeah, right? And so what really happened, it's just one of those situations the world may never know.
Yeah, I can dig it. I look at it like this, man. I mean, once they realized that there was air out of the ball and that he may have had a competitive advantage in that individual game, and they swapped out the balls, he still went out and smacked them.
and at the end of the day, they put a pretty good butt whooping on the Colts that night. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It was. I agree with you, and that's again. How much air was out? Was it one ball? Was it 8 balls? Was it who knows? But at the end of the day, that score was very lopsided.
It was very lopsided on both sides of the halftime. So whether the balls were tampered with or not, it's just difficult when you have a great team historically be dogged by certain allegations, and it kind of reminds me, again, with me being, a little bit more, comfortable with baseball because that's what I grew up playing. When I look at some players where you had a whole lot of innuendo, and we don't need to get into them because we know who they are, but there's a whole lot of innuendo about said player having used performance-enhancing drugs, but there's never been any proof to it, and then you slam him and you don't put him in the Hall of Fame because you think he might have done something. You know what I mean? And so, obviously it's a little bit different, but it's just how we are as a society. We like to look at these kinds of things and think we have all the answers. So, but I just thought I would ask you your opinion about that. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Now let's have a little bit of fun. Obviously, there are a bunch of teams that feeling pretty good after this week's victories. Dallas, of course, being one of them, and of course, on the other night, New England being another one of those two teams that we focused on in some of my questions. What do you think about this season? Do you see any teams, in your opinion, that are kind of leapfrogging ahead of others? I know that Seattle didn't look all that good, but there's still some that think that they're a favorite to go back to the Super Bowl from the NFC side. What are your thoughts? Anybody in the league kind of catch your eye?
I honestly have to say I did not catch every game. There are some same old stories with some of the teams that are going around. Few surprises, I'll say. Buffalo beating Indianapolis was a little bit of a surprise. I think Rex Ryan gets his first win.
They didn't just
New England came out and did what they did. NFC East. Let's see what Philly does tonight. Dallas Giants classic game. It was some, everything seemed to pan out. Let's talk about the rookie Mariota, though.
Wow.
He had a heck of a
4 touchdowns?
Coming out party, didn't he?
I think it was like 4 touchdowns that he threw, and I'm pretty sure it was mostly in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
and that game was against, he's the number 2 pick, and he played the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
So that was a.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure he felt good after that night.
Yeah, he did. And Tampa Bay always stinks, so I don't know if how much to put into that. But Mariota looked pretty doggone good, man. He looked pretty doggone good, and so so
as always, I love it this time of year. Summer gets a little slow for me. You're a baseball guy. So summer's probably great for you.
Oh, dude.
Me, summertime is slow. I can't wait for football to get here, so I'm just excited.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the best
also
time,
going on.
The best time of the month for me, the best time of the year for me, honestly, is September, late September, early October. Because you have
World Series football.
You have everything. You got preseason basketball and hockey.
That's true.
You got the pennant race in baseball, and then you got football that's in full swing. So probably about 2. I'm happy now, but probably in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna be uncontrollably happy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like giggling and drooling all over yourself all day type happy. So
that's true.
A couple other quick hits. Same old in D.C. Dolphins go in and smack around the Redskins 17-10.
That's the organization that can't get out of its own way. They just got too many issues from top to bottom, man.
RG3?
And that's starting with the name of the organization on up.
RG3, I think, many of us expected a lot more from him, in his future and in his career in Washington, and it's not panning out, all the way to the point where he was the third string quarterback. Didn't even suit up. So if you're a Skins fan and you're listening, I don't know. The Jets smack around the Browns 31-10. Now here's the part about that tripped me out, and not so much about the score, but their quarterback, we know is nursing a broken jaw, and the guy who was brought in specifically to back him up is the one that goes out and throws up 31 points. getting the brother his first win as the coach in New York. What do you think about that?
That's interesting, man. Obviously, the head coach of the Jets, and I don't know if you know, Todd Bowles is from Elizabeth, New Jersey, so shout out to New Jersey.
Say word.
But our home state.
Our home state.
But
absolutely.
And he actually was one of my coaches in Dallas, DB coach. So,
okay.
The Jets, the New York team, it's good to see them playing well. We'll see Giants and Jets. They always see who finishes better. Yeah. When they're both playing well, it's fun to be in New York. So we'll see how they finish out.
Yeah, it's similar to how the Yankees and the Mets are, and they're both battling for playoff spots. I think the Mets are pretty likely to get theirs. The Yankees will probably get a wild card. So it's very, very similar dynamic. Yep. It's always more fun when the two teams.
Absolutely.
Are both playing well. Steppin with Marcus. All right. Kind of transition. I actually want to ask you a couple of different things here. I'm going to get into some current events because I'm going to put you on the spot on some current events. I won't tell you what I'm going to ask you, but we're going to do that. But what I want to know from you now is what it's like for a player to spend 8 years in the league and then transition out of the league. I mean, I know a lot of us laymen, just figure, oh, you made a whole bunch of money, you should be all right. You know what I mean? And that's what the average fan thinks. Whether that's the case or not, you can share or not share. That part's up to you. But I'm really more curious to know what that transition is like when you're doing OTAs all year and you're in camp and you're playing and then you got the summer to get ready. Once you stop playing football, my guess is all that stops. How do you transition back to, for lack of a better term, civilian life?
Yeah, that's always a touchy subject, because it's actually it's a big problem with former players in all sports, but mainly football, being that we have larger numbers,
right?
A lot more guys playing it. The focus tends to always be on football players. But let me just start off by saying it's very tough.
Right.
And just for numbers, I mean, there's only, let's call it 5% of the league who probably make that kind of money where they can literally not have to work again for the rest of their lives, maybe 5-10% tops.
Right.
So most of the guys you see out there playing on Sundays, no matter how you swing it, they're going to have to do something after they're done playing. And a lot of times that transition is tough.
Right.
It's very tough. I just went through it. Thank God I'm okay. I've found some things that I love. And a lot of times it's just, getting back in line with things you love to do. What's your passion? What did you study in college? Learning that, hey, you're not on the pedestal anymore, more or less. You got to come back and you got to learn how to work again. You got to learn how to write resumes. You got to learn how to go on interviews.
Right.
You got to learn, these things that you haven't done for years.
Right.
You got to kind of repolish these tools.
Right.
And it's just a emotional, psychological, and physical battle for a lot of guys.
Right.
And it's about 3 years is what they say it takes for guys to transition out and kind of get back full swing into something else they're going to do for the rest of their life.
Right.
Like I said, I just kind of went through that 3-year swing, and things are, looking good. But it's tough, Marcus, to be honest with you. And you hear the stories, and it can get as bad as guys, committing suicide.
Right.
And you hear those stories too. That's
right.
You hate to hear it, but it does happen, and it's a reality. So the NFL has done a great job here recently of getting a lot of programs, guys getting back coaching, refereeing, music, cooking, whatever, anything, any scholarship money, anything you can fancy in your mind. The NFL is really taking a forward step in getting guys back, transitioning into whatever they want to do when they're done. So it's getting better, and it will continue to get better.
Right. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Now, listening to you kind of speak about that generally, more specifically, I know about the thing that you have kind of turned to. So instead of being the one with the helmet, you have become the one with the whistle. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the past this will be my 3rd season. I am officially a referee.
Okay.
I'm at the college level right now. The NFL kind of took a look at what they had going on and say, hey, we need to get some more former players involved in this aspect of the game. It makes sense. We know the game.
Right.
We know pretty much the rules. We know how the game is played. We understand defense, offense, what's going on. We understand advantage, what's not advantage, material effect. I mean, so a lot of these things we've done, we've played the game. So it was a great program they started. It's, the NFL, they call it the NFL Officiating Legends Program. I started it 3 years ago. I'm now doing college. I'll refrain from saying what conference I'm in, but it is a Division I conference, and so I've been loving it. Yeah. I've been having a great time with it, and I hope just keep going until I get back to the league.
No, I can dig it, man. I 100% agree that the league would be wise to utilize the skill set of former players and utilizing that knowledge, because it's an untapped pool.
Exactly.
That you can utilize. And again, as people who, I guess, I keep using the term layman as a fan is probably a better word. As a fan, you try not to pay attention to the referees, because if you're paying attention to the referees, it's probably for the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
But you do realize that it's necessary to have them. And I would be happier to know that the people who are controlling the game that I love to watch and I love to root for and against are people who know what they're doing. And every once in a while, when you see a bad call is made, and there were a couple that was made in the game last night, depending on who you root for, Dallas or New York.
Right.
And I think the bulk of the bad calls fell in the Giants' favor for what it's worth. But I think there would be a lot more credibility given to the person with the whistle if the person with the whistle used to have a helmet, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a great way couldn't say it better myself, but I think that is a thought process on all levels, and I'm just happy that timing of it worked out where I was able to jump on board. And like I said, it's just been an amazing ride so far.
I can dig it. Ain't no half step on Marcus. All right, man, I'm going to put you on the spot. A couple of quick hits. You ready, man? You ready to rock and roll? A couple of quick hits?
Go ahead, shoot.
All right. September 13th, 1996, the world lost 25-year-old Tupac Shakur. He was shot a week earlier and succumbed to his injuries. Many of us grew up with him as the face of hip-hop as well as the face of pop culture. His influence has been felt in the 19 years since his passing. I'll just kind of start it off and tell you, I loved the guy. I hated the guy. He infuriated me. He made me very happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole point is it was a lot of yin and yang with regards to how I felt about Pac. So I'll ask you, did you have any love, hate, feelings one way or the other about Pac? Was he on your radar? Did you care?
Of course, man. He was, him and Biggie were both icons way before, they were men way before their time. They're legends in what has now been one of the biggest movements in music ever.
Right.
And like you, I had a love-hate. I loved Pac when he was here. I hated him when he ran to the West. But at the same time, I could always respect and love his music. I still play it. I still have it in my playlist.
Right.
He's just going to be one of those that just, timeless. He'll always have a following. People will always play his music. Right. And he was really just he was a genius, man. He was stuff he wrote about and how quickly he could do it, and his delivery was just, it hasn't been replicated and probably never will.
Yeah, and I think it would trip him out if he was still here with us. I think it would trip him out to know that people still bumping his joints, man. Like, I think it would bug him out, but I also think that he's arrogant enough to say, well, what did you expect? I'm Tupac.
At the same time, right.
At the same time. You know what? I could dig it. Where were you on November 11, 2001? Do you remember?
I was in college, sophomore, Rutgers University, coming out of it was football season, so I actually just had a workout I had to do. It was probably like a Monday or a Tuesday, something like that. I remember right.
It was a Tuesday, yeah. So I also, I don't talk a whole lot about it. I mentioned a lot of my feelings on 9/11 earlier in the show. I generally don't say a whole lot about it because I'm still, I have a lot of mixed feelings and emotions around it. But, those folks who Interest of full disclosure, Nate, you're my cousin, I'm your cousin, we're family. My mom was actually on her way into the city, and the one time in her life she was late for something, happened to be that day, and she didn't make it, and so she didn't make it to work. So she was fine, but I remember what that terror was like, to not know where where she was. 14 years later, any thoughts on the world, how it's different? I mean, I'm guessing that you had to travel as a football player a little bit back then, but certainly a lot more as a football player in your professional career with the changes that 9/11 brought to travel. Any thoughts on any of that?
It's almost even funny because it's like, it's weird to think about what it was like before 9/11. You know what I mean? Because
right.
It's so dramatically different. And I do travel a lot now, and it is so annoying at times. But it's just the world we live in right now. But certainly one of the more pivotal dates in my life. Everybody, every generation kind of has them. Kind of Kennedy was killed, and some of these really monumental changes in American history. That was certainly one of the biggest I can remember. And it's just I too, like you, that day my dad worked in New York, and we couldn't reach him for a while, and I remember the feeling of finally hearing his voice, just knowing he was okay. That just was surreal. But definitely a day in American history that'll never be forgotten, and it's changed the way we live, for sure.
Kathy Davis is a woman that works in Kentucky in a office that is supposed to issue marriage licenses, and she recently made news because she refused to issue marriage licenses to gay people. So many of us know her story. She was put in jail for contempt of court because she refused, has since gotten out of jail, and has returned to her job. Any thoughts on Kathy Davis?
It's just a sad state we're in right now in America that this is, even top news. It's tough for me to go into it. I don't want to pick sides here, but a lot going on with these issues that, unfortunately, again, just all I can say is it's just tough to even have to know that this is top news right now in America.
Right. I'm guessing you've been paying attention to the news. If you haven't, then I'll share with you about James Blake, the tennis player who was standing outside a Manhattan hotel on his way to the U.S. Open. He's a retired player, retired just like you, Nate. He's standing outside of a Manhattan hotel when he's attacked and tackled to the ground by a police officer. That police officer was later we later found out that they thought that Blake looked like someone that was accused of identity fraud. And so basically he was tackled to the ground for looking like another dude. What do you think about that? You ever hear of such a crazy thing?
Again, just right back to what I said, the state of America right now with our civilians and police have not seen it this bad in my life.
Right.
And I don't know. If this happens 5 years ago, maybe it's not news. I don't know. But right now there is certainly a strife that is beyond anything I've ever lived through. And again, I'm a young guy, but we have to improve our civilian police relations for whatever reason, because they're there for a purpose, and they have to serve their purpose. But right now it's just not a good relationship at all. And
I agree.
Certain demographics in society are worse than others right now with the police, but we got to fix it. We got to fix it to move forward.
I can dig it, and that's a large part of what the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I don't know if movement is the right word. I don't know if they have made themselves an organization. I think a lot of their detractors, a lot of the Black Lives Matters detractors, would assume that there's a leader or a figurehead. But my thought on that is, and I've mentioned it before on the show, is if there was one, that they would figure out a way to to either assassinate the character or assassinate the person. So I think it's very, very important that we keep that in mind and understand that every single demographic has certain challenges. Some have greater challenges than others, and I think if we act like they don't exist, if we act like you should just get over it and be strong, or are you too sensitive to be offended? I think that is more part of the problem than part of the solution.
It's, you got a big election coming up next year.
Yes.
I'm sure that'll be a topic at some point, how the police civilian relationship needs to improve. And it's yes, I think everybody needs to be sensitive to each challenge that comes across each different demographic, and this country is made up of many. So until we address them all and love and respect each other, I don't know what the improvement will be.
I agree. I think we would be wise to elect a president, male, female, regardless of race or creed or whatever. We'd be wise to hold that person accountable for the relationship with law enforcement, particularly in certain communities that are the ones that are most affected by it. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Nate, we're getting ready to wrap up and close out the conversation here. So I want to first, thank you for joining us. It's the first time you've joined us on Legacy Internet Radio. Of course, we know that you joined us on the air on the website that we used to be on. Of course, I will extend the invitation for you to come back whenever you would like to come back. There may be times where I tap you on the shoulder and say, I want you to come back. You know what I mean? Certainly before the end of the season, I'd like to see if you had an opportunity to watch the happenings around the National Football League. And if there's anything crazy that happens, I would love to get your insight, because I feel like you brought a lot to the show when you were on before, and certainly a lot now, particularly with the unique with the unique fact that you played, of course, with Tony and Tom in both of probably the not biggest as far as cities, but certainly the most polarizing franchises, at least in 2015 in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And so I definitely appreciate that. So I want to thank
Dallas Cowboys ranked the most expensive. Forbes just came out today, right? The number one sports franchise in the world now, $4 billion. That's allegedly their net worth. So
they clipped
definitely a polarizing would be an understatement for sure. Yes. They are a huge monster here in Dallas. So
you got it, man.
In New England, just with their wins and stuff, that same way. So I've played for some pretty interesting teams.
I can dig it. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Nate, hold the line for me, brother. I appreciate it. Hold the line for me. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate Nate Jones for joining us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we got more Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Stay with us. We'll be back in a few.